Some people in Velva say that Dot's Pretzels put the town on the map. Juliana Tex, grocery store worker for Velva Fresh Foods, says quite a few people like chewing on the hometown pretzels.
We're always restocking it.
28 employees will be out of work, but Hershey's offered to relocate them to another plant or a severance package. Mike Schreiner, the mayor of Velva, says it'll be a blow to the community.
The contract, if I remember correctly, was when Hershey's purchased it, they said they wouldn't do anything for 3 years. Well, now we're at the 3-year mark.
He says he wishes Hershey's would have reached out to the city. He says he would have liked to negotiate building a newer facility to keep Dots in this town. Carrie Weish, deputy auditor for Velva, says she remembers when the original owner gave out pretzel samples.
We just watched it grow and grow and grow, and now it's Dots.
She says she's proud of how successful Dots is now. Mayor Schreiner says the shutdown could impact the surrounding businesses.
If you've ever been to Hershey's, Pennsylvania, it's about the roots of the company, and I really wish that Hershey's would consider that in this endeavor with the roots of Velva.
Of the 28 employees at the plant, he says he's not sure how many live in town. In Velva, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. The city of Minot buses arrive at the municipal auditorium early. Some of the kids hop off onto a transfer or stay. City transit driver Marty Shileski says on average he takes 50 kids to school every morning.
Most of them are good. Occasionally there's some that aren't. But then you have to tell them, who's the boss?
Dean of Students at Jim Hill Middle School, Shannon Ostrom, says due to budgetary reasons, the district has never had regular school buses that picks kids up from their neighborhood and drops them off at school. The exceptions are special ed students and times when students go on field trips. Ostrom says she reached out to the Power of the Purse to help fill the gap. When kids at Jim Hill need a bus pass, they go to her.
Being able to just see the relief to them when they know they have a secure way to and from school has been so impactful for me.
The city bus fare costs $28 a month per student. Stacy Kenny, the finance and program director at the Minot Area Community Foundation, says the Power of the Purse is doing this fundraiser for a second time, so transportation is not a barrier to education.
You have families that have, 2, 3, 4 kids in the house, parents are working. It's hard.
Kenny says the first fundraiser they held for the bus fares was in 2021, and the community went so above and beyond that they totaled $15,000. Ostrom says those funds covered them for a year and a half.
Did receive so much, I was able to share out bus passes with other schools in the district.
Before Power of the Purse came to relieve families struggling with financial issues or strict work schedules, Ostrom says a lack of transportation was one of the main causes of absences. In Minot, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. The snow groomers are getting the slopes ready for the late morning visitors.
I love skiing.
Sarah Gates says they usually hit the hills when they visit family in town.
This year we were really surprised because we drove up from Fargo through Rugby and there was no snow by Rugby or Bottineau, but then as soon as we got up to Lake Metagoshi it was very wintry and snowy.
The transformation into a winter wonderland, while it's 34 degrees, doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a series of nights. President of the Bottineau Winter Park Board, Dan Fett, says they'll have about 4 to 5 more nights of blanketing the park in snow.
And we pump about 10 million gallons of water from that lake. They go through our pipes and up onto our hills and through our fan guns.
He says they received about $1.45 million from North Dakota Tourism, and they're going to prioritize getting the underground piping system replaced, along with new snowmaking guns so they can open after Thanksgiving and stay open until March or April. Ski instructor Jocelyn Janner says the snow machines keeps them afloat during the warm winter. But stone cold temperatures can also put a wrench in tubing, snowboarding, and ski plans.
I remember last winter it was so cold. I think we were shut down like the day after Christmas or some days throughout Christmas break because it was so cold.
FED says they should be at 100% snow coverage this weekend. In the winter park, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. Marshall LaRocque, a Turtle Mountain Community College alumni with a 4-year degree in the Anishinaabe language, came to Belcourt Thursday to celebrate the history of his alma mater.
Every time you come to something like this, you hear new stories about our community, the history, how it was built.
Lancelot Ager, one of several founders of the college, says they started the school from scratch. They operated wherever space was available. They even began teaching classes in high schools at nighttime. Ager says anytime a building in town was abandoned, they took it.
There was a laundromat across the road that became our vocational building, our welding building. And then there was a post office that converted to a bar, became our Arrowhead printing.
Zelma Pelchi, tribal councilwoman and former teacher at the school in its early years, says they didn't have decent buildings.
We had a flood, and the basement there at the old hospital flooded, and oh my goodness, it reeked of fuel oil.
Over time, issues with funding and facilities improved. Donna Dubois Thomas has been employed at the school since 1981.
When I worked for the Indian movement, American Indian movement, I knew they were making history too, but left and came here, and so it's history.
After Donna's first 3 years, it was accredited as a college. They were previously known as an enrichment center.
For us at Turtle Mountain, we were already Turtle Mountain Community College.
Thomas says she's seen one generation after another graduate from the school. In the Turtle Mountains, I'm Crystal Quao, reporting for your news leader. Rachel Gitson, a visitor from out of town, says she got the news about Richard Mickelson on Tuesday.
We heard because we were going up to Van Hook, and our in-laws sent us the story, which is so sad. And you heard that he had fallen overboard and they can't find him.
Montreal County Sheriff Corey Bristol says Mickelson's fishing line got caught on the motor, and as he tried to untangle it, he fell in.
He actually had a sweatshirt on, which, you know, the more clothes you have on, you get in the water, that stuff soaks up. You're way heavier than you would normally be.
Bristol says he's been in constant communication with the family. Fire Chief John DeGroot says many factors impact a search like this.
It all varies so much with water temperature, wind direction, size of the person.
Bristol says the weather calmed down since the last big search effort on Monday, and they know the general vicinity of where Mickelson fell in because of his boat's GPS.
We're going to do side scan sonar, see if we can't try and find him today.
Bristol says Arden Idy, retired Van Hook resident and frequent volunteer with search and rescue, is one of many from the fishing community that called to see how they could help.
20 miles east. Why not us? We're actually closer. We're on scene way before they are.
North Dakota Game and Fish and a team with Burleigh County's Sheriff's Office helped with the search. In Van Hook, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. Tom Kelsch is strolling through the North Dakota Medal of Honor Memorial. He had been in combat during the Vietnam War.
With the Agent Orange, I'm kind of the poster child for that. Diabetes, heart problems, cancer, you name it, I've had it.
Kelsch is one of the beneficiaries of a group called Veterans Step Up Foundation, a group he says he went to in 2018 to update his disability claim when his cancer was in remission. Its founder, Charles Epperson, says the idea to start his own group to help veterans process their claims started to form in 2015. Back then, he said he had just filed a claim with the VA and was getting group counseling every week at the vet center. He noticed that a number of his peers had gaps in their knowledge about claim filing, so he decided to become an accredited agent.
Some veterans have been back 60 years or more and have never filed a claim.
He says some people don't know it's something they're entitled to. Kelsch had his own reasons for never claiming PTSD.
I used to have a federal firearms license, and I didn't want to claim the PTSD and put the license in jeopardy.
Veterans Step Up also offers their services to veterans' families. Maggie Spavoda, spouse of late husband Larry, says she ran into Charles and then made an appointment to help her sort through a thick stack of paperwork.
It was all said and done, and he mailed it in, and a month later I received my benefits again.
Epperson says his group meets 1 p.m. at Tuesdays at Highland Suites in Minot. In Harvey and Minot, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. When Lori Tickerhoff's ex-husband, Charles, died last May, she was left with a house that needed a lot of fixing.
We just didn't have the time, we don't have the machine that we needed.
She says she got connected to the Veteran Step Up Foundation, and its founder, Charles Epperson, was willing to put a team together to repair the house for its next owner. He says when Lori had called, she says she didn't know where to turn and was overwhelmed.
A group of us went out, and my wife took a notebook, and we walked around and looked and said, okay, the garage doors need fixed.
So did the roof, parts of the wall, broken windows, and spigots. Tickerhoff says the Helping Veterans group spent around a couple days revamping the house. The yard work, on the other hand, had its own undertaking.
And Tom even came back a second time just so he could mow again.
Tickerhoff says after they helped her flip the house, she, her mom, and her kids spent 2 weeks finishing up what could have probably taken double the time. Another veteran the group touched was Dennis Hawkins. 2 years ago, when he needed money to take his child to a doctor's appointment in Fargo, he ran into the group at Home of Economy. He says he had exhausted all his immediate options at that time, and they were unbelievably helpful.
I don't like asking for help, and they said, look, that's what we're here for. We're here to help veterans who are in need of help.
He says it wasn't the last time they'd helped him out of a jam. In Minot, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. When it comes to the courts, the administrators are keeping the trains running on time. Jennifer Babcock, legal case clerk, says the staff is down one person and they're hanging in as best as possible.
It makes you realize what a close-knit team that you really are when you're short, because we've had an attorney shortage for quite a while.
Ward County State's Attorney Rosa Larson says the number of people who take the bar has gone down, and there's usually just over a 60% passage rate of North Dakota's exam.
Being down 2 attorneys puts extra workload on the attorneys that are here.
She says she hasn't been able to fill those positions in more than a year.
Sure, hold on one moment.
Tiffany Sorgan, a deputy state's attorney for Ward County, says they're unable to help new attorneys in the office get more trial experience.
I'm really the only person that has the training to be on the multidisciplinary team for the CAC. Which is, again, why I handle the crimes against children.
Rena Morales with the Craig Law Firm says there's 5 state prosecutors in the Ward County State Attorney's Office and 2 public defenders. Their firm, as well as other private attorneys, take some of their cases because there aren't enough public defenders.
There's so many, and we appreciate those, and we do everything that we can.
There's also language barriers. Morales says, to the best of her knowledge, she might be the only Spanish-speaking attorney in town. When she handles divorces with 2 parties who both speak Spanish, she's able to represent one of them. The other uses an interpreter. Still, she says a lot can get lost in translation. In Minot, I'm Crystal Quao, reporting for your news leader. Hearing the sounds of the band instruments from the International Music Camp courtyard is typical these days at the camp.
It's a little sore, but
Adeline Galinsky, a soon-to-be 7th grader who's working on her dance, acting, and singing this summer, says when she messes up, Jacoby Wallace is honest with her.
He has lots of great feedback and stuff that you can take with you.
Jacoby signed on to be a private voice instructor at IMC this week. Since graduating from Minot State, he's performed in the Medora musical, toured with Sesame Street Live, and performed in New York City. But he says he's grateful for some time out of the Big Apple, being able to see the stars at night and spending a week helping other students express themselves.
This is some of the only few opportunities that they can maybe be themselves, to step on a stage, to get a solo.
With his mom in the Air Force, he moved to Minot freshman year of high school.
Let's go.
Jacoby says he found friends and his voice performing. AJ Martinez, a music theater instructor at the camp, says he's noticed Jacoby's collaborative efforts.
Jacoby has just been a great addition to our team, and we hope to have him for many years more.
Wallace says during high school, he wanted to be at IMC, but it wasn't in the stars.
And when Tim and Christine messaged me to come out here, I immediately said yes. I was like, when can I come?
Passing on the gift of music to the next generation. In Dunseith, I'm Crystal Kwao, reporting for your news leader. This morning is Joy Bear's first time back to where her home burned more than 7 weeks ago. The 5-bedroom home housed a total of 8 people. Joy's daughter, Tanisha Gonzalez, says thankfully no one was harmed.
You never think it's going to happen to you.
According to the National Fire Protection Association, fire departments respond to an average of 67,000 homes annually. Joy's partner, Carrie Roy Whitebear, says on July 18th the fire spread fast and he tried to use a water hose to stop it, but there wasn't enough pressure.
Because I saw that black smoke was coming, and then in the kitchen's area, so I turned around and went out.
By the time firefighters arrived, the house was charred. According to FEMA's 2019 After the Fire paper, one of the first steps after a big fire is to ask for help. Joy says people in the community brought food and clothes and furnished an apartment for her family.
There's people out here that were here for me. I couldn't believe that I was, because I still think of, who am I?
One of her friends, Pam Nicholson, says Joy herself has helped others get back on their feet.
Anything you need, she's there. You call her, she's there.
Nicholson says she and others came by days after the burn and began clearing the way for a new beginning. Joy says she's still grieving, but she's moving on.
This is something that my dad gave me. He didn't want me to not have a place to go.
Outside of financial assistance after losing a home, the American Psychological Association says social support can help people after a life-changing event. In White Shield, I'm Crystal Kwao reporting for your news leader. For some Minoters, one of their favorite hobbies is throwing sharp objects at a wall with precision. Devin Banning, axe master at Up Your Axe and league coordinator, says when the women's league started in October of 2022, they sold out within 72 hours.
We kind of realized, hey, we might have a thing on our hands, something that's desired, something that women want to do.
She says about 15 to 22 joined the Women's Rec League when the season opens. Kemian Eisenzimmer is part of multiple leagues, including the World Axe Throwing League, also known as WADL, which is co-ed, and the group tends to travel for competition. Banning says WADL ranges from 8 to 20 athletes, and she and Kamian are the only women in that league.
There's not a lot of females, not even in Minot, but across the nation that throw axe.
Eisenzimmer says some of the reasons are intimidation or the fear of being a cautionary tale.
They've seen the videos where somebody throws an axe, it bounces back, they swish out of the way and it goes swooshing by their head.
She says accidents rarely happen though. With enough practice, each throw sticks closer to bullseye.
For our couples league, Oddly enough, it's not super popular.
She attributes it to people's schedules. Eisenzimmer says farmers, 9-to-5ers, bank tellers, teachers, and nurses have joined the world of axe throwing. In Minot, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. This gigantic, bulky blanket has been under wraps since 2003, waiting for a permanent home. The quilt is 134 by 84, and up until now, too large to be in any indoor facility. Derek Tennyson is the youngest grandson of Leona Tennyson. She created the quilt in 1989, along with thousands of quilters across the states for North Dakota's centennial celebration.
And they would just have stitch parties, and they'd be over there putting everything together, mostly through all the afternoon, and just be sewing on quilt.
His grandmother didn't want the quilt separated, so it stayed in storage, waiting for a home, like the First National Bank of Antler, located on the town square.
There's no way to display it in its entirety, but we want to find a way that we can fold it or display it here.
This building needs a lot of work before it's ready to show off the pieces of history.
For just the windows, no labor is $90,000. So that's probably going to be our single biggest expense.
Derek says he's happy his grandmother's pride and joy is coming home.
We'd kind of like to have kept it local. So when the opportunity came up and the building is getting all refinished, we thought it'd be a good place to be right back where it was assembled.
The bank renovation project is going to cost around $300,000, and the Antler Historical Society is trying to raise half that money in order to get matching grants. In Antler, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. These physics students at Dakota College at Botno are working with vectors and measuring trees. Kendall DeGrave, one of the second-year students, is comfortable with the teacher's instruction.
So you want to kind of level, right? She'll give us like our questions, and it's not like my way or the highway. She lets us use our own methods.
They're collecting data for the GLOBE program and acting as citizen scientists. Professor Angie Bartolome has been an educator for 45 years and specializes in environmental science. She says they could have done the activity on paper, but the hands-on aha moments are faster.
We have to teach them. We have to make this real to them so they understand what's actually happening. And that can be very easy to do.
The Tree Award came to her after years of writing curriculum. She says before she became an educator, she originally wanted to be a ranger, but it didn't work out.
So I started teaching and I fell in love with it, and I decided I could have both worlds.
She's also one of the primary organizers for the annual Earth Day Water Festival on campus.
She's really good at answering them for us and just being really good at walking through and making sure we understand all the questions.
Bartolome says it felt good to be selected out of all the creative and wonderful environmental educators across the state. In Botno, I'm Crystal Quao reporting for your news leader. When Kenmare Elementary's preschoolers through second graders joined the rest of Kenmare Public School under one roof, it left a vacancy. Kenmare Fire Department, Ambulance, and Park Board had been searching for a way to improve their facilities with the city's help.
All four entities come together and said, this is our opportunity.
Assistant Chief with Kenmare Fire Department, Eric Sieg, says they've squeezed all their trucks and equipment in the bays, and it leaves them with barely any room to train in during winters.
Can't drive a fire truck outside and while you're doing training inside.
The same can be said for their EMS. Treasurer of Ambulance Services and Kenmare Mayor Arlen Gartner says they've been talking about adding extra bays for about 3 years.
In the future, who knows, we might have to have paramedics and we have to have living quarters for those people.
President of Kenmare's Park Board, Jeff Shobe, says the board has been brainstorming ways to spruce up the existing playground on the old school's premises.
The sky's the limit. Playground equipment, possible splash pad, pool, possibly.
The plans are in motion, and Shobe says they'll figure it out as they go.
So we got to make sure everybody gets the proper footage that they want.
Gartner says fire and ambulance will have separate buildings. In Kenmare, I'm Crystal Kwao reporting for your news leader. A few of the Harvey firefighters are giving away pumpkins for one fire safety protocol, and people have plans for their newly acquired gourds.
You're gonna carve them!
Scott Hornart says he counts on getting a free pumpkin yearly.
We take the pumpkin seeds out and we usually bake them and season them and have them as snacks.
What fire safety tip were you gonna tell them?
Harper was ready with her tip.
If there's a fire on your shirt, you stop, drop, and roll.
Her father, Adam, who's been a volunteer firefighter for 10 years, says that golden rule has stuck with kids. However, other important tips weren't mentioned as much.
Like if your house is on fire, you want to make sure everyone in the family knows where they're all going to meet. So when the fire department gets there, we know that everyone's out of the house.
The co-owner of Super Value Grocery Store says this is a fun way to engage the community in a fiery topic.
If we can save one family, one person, that's wonderful. That's what it's all about.
Harper says when you see smoke coming out of a building,
you call 911.
Adam says part of the event is to reiterate critical information that kids and adults sometimes forget.
We'll go home and tell her 911 next time.
Carbon?
He also suggested checking batteries in the smoke alarm twice a year. In Harvey, I'm Crystal Kwao reporting for your news leader. Cars are zipping by the 70-mile-per-hour US 83, heading to the direction of Minot or the town of Max. Carolyn Barden, who grew up in Max, says she slows down and takes a closer look at cars making their move after the stop signs on 23.
I know there's been some bad accidents there. I don't know. They've done a lot there already with lighting and doing signs and stuff, but I just don't know if people aren't paying attention.
Jennifer Ainram, one of the team leads for the state's Department of Transportation, says this intersection is considered one of the top crash sites. The intersection has a total of 18 accidents since 2018. Ainram says there have been 3 fatalities in 2023. DOT representatives proposed replacing the stop signs with roundabouts, so no matter the direction that a vehicle comes from, everybody yields.
If you have a normal 4-way stop or 4-way intersection, if somebody decides to blow through it, there's a T-bone type accident versus if it's a roundabout.
After this solution was presented, a member of the audience did an informal survey of the room to see who didn't want to see roundabouts. A visible amount of hands went up. Dennis Erickson, president of the Max Community Club, suggests lowering the speed limit to about 50.
Let's try it. What do we got to lose really right now?
Another alternative included planting police or a video camera in these intersections to penalize people who violate the speed limit. Ainram says they'll discuss all the comments from the meeting and after to management.
I've had projects totally change after public input. I've had projects stay the same. It depends.
She says their mission is to make the intersection as safe as possible. In Max, I'm Crystal Kwao reporting for your news leader. Santa entertains the kids as families are waiting for the one-night-only shops to open. It looks like hundreds of people showed up to Vincent United Methodist Church's Miracle of Christmas. Mary Galley, who stood by the gift wrapping station, says it's her first time at the event and knew some of what to expect.
I was hoping to have a good experience and get presents for me and my family and my kids.
One room dedicates items for kids, including a mountain of toys, and the other 2 rooms have household items, clothes, shoes, and blankets, just to name a few. Everyone gets 2 or 3 tickets, which is then used as currency to exchange for items. One of the guests, Joan Brown, says it's thoughtful that they also had bags for these gifts.
Well, I ended up getting one for each kid of my children. And so I got 3 gifts, and so that they'll each get something, which is wonderful.
One of the main organizers, Bonnie Oakes, says this event is one of the outreaches of the church and a way to expand their blessing boxes.
It is definitely a miracle of Christmas because there's just miracles happening every moment while we're here.
Oakes says the Minot Sleep In staff volunteered and donated the spaces and the food, which Susan Brown says was good.
Whoever cooked it did a wonderful job.
Oakes says the event came together with a long list of sponsorships and community members. In Minot, I'm Crystal Kwao reporting for your news leader.